Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories like these. Now, let's get into today's story video. Wife sacrifices marriage for something I offered to give her. So, I'm not sure where to begin. Not the most brilliant or wisest man in the planet. I suppose I'll simply start chatting. My wife, 26 female, and I have been married for over 5 years. 2 years married, we have a 2-year-old boy, and I have a 10-year-old daughter from a previous marriage. My wife made a new buddy at work, F, on April 21st, and regular friend stuff began. Things seemed normal at first. Texting, tagging each other on various social media platforms, things that are normal. F is also in a relationship with a male. However, it is unclear if they are married. This will come in handy later. I began seeing things in June. Wife would remain up late at night, sometimes all night, communicating F. Wife devotes a lot of time to her. Her visit to my home. Wife is on her way to the residence. Again, nothing major. I believed it was just buddy stuff. Something strange occurs to me one night. My wife and I are in bed, and I'm fast asleep. I wake up, and she rushes to conceal her phone. I don't think much of it. I return to bed and sort of snore while awake, and she takes out her phone to erase some texts. I'm half sleepy and don't pay attention to it at the time. We start getting into more arguments about this time. She's beginning to go to F home, S more often, and they're starting to go places more frequently. It all comes to a head around June 23, when we have a massive argument that ends with the wife punching a hole in the wall and fleeing to her F residence. That night, after more text bickering, I told her I wanted a divorce, and that we could no longer have a secure and stable relationship for our kid. We figure it out afterwards. It blows up big time on June 29. I'm at work when I get a message from my wife. F is going to live with us, since her spouse booted her out and she has nowhere else to go, according to my wife. This isn't happening, I tell my wife. At this time, I'm skeptical of my wife, and F I tell her, you and your girlfriend can finally do whatever you want. I don't care anymore. She answers by saying, well, you know I adore you. I will always love you and care for you since you are the father of my kid. That will never change. I'm simply going to throw it out there. F, partner believes, F and I are involved in something. He's jealous and controlling, and she wanted to get away. Sometimes emotions grow, and there's nothing I can do about it now. When you threatened to divorce me, it made me understand you don't value our relationship as much as I believed you did. I phone her, and she eventually admits that she and F had a physical affair, confirming my assumptions. To cut a long tale short, she says it's because F was emotionally there for her throughout our conflicts and fights. She also maintains that she has been selfish about the whole thing, and that my wife was always interested in females. I previously offered to bring a female into our room to satisfy the wife's desire, but she declined, claiming she didn't want to share me. Against my better judgment, I try my best to work through this, and we begin to restore our relationship. I'm not the most wonderful person on the earth. I make statements, things that are harmful. I subsequently apologized for it. I'd always had the impression that something wasn't quite right. The narrative didn't set well with me. They said that they played and touched a couple times, and had intercourse just once. Even so, it never added up. When they stopped conversing, the messages, F, sent to my wife were nothing like a fling would send. Things are mentioning deep love and her being the one. Messages that made no sense and had no context on her phone. As a result, I think the most of them were erased. Beautiful photos on my wife's phone that I never got. Pictures of her using cosmetics and such. It was heard approximately a week ago. I reach out to F and her partner to apologize. I didn't think they deserved one, but I felt obligated to do so since I had said some nasty and harsh things to them. More than anything, I did it for me. F and I start chatting, and she supposedly fills me in on a lot of what transpired. She then delivers the bombshell and requests that her partner contact me. When I answer the phone, he says, I cannot take your apologies since I also had with your wife. So in essence, my wife had with this couple. She did it many times because she wanted to test a lady, and her boyfriend would not allow F to have with my wife unless he was there. I'm completely ruined. My wife seems to have sacrificed myself, our son, and our daughter for something so selfish, and I offered to do it for her, but she declined since she didn't want anybody else touching her. I'm at a loss for words and have no clue where to turn. Edit. I never expected so many of you to reach out to me when I'm in pain, and I appreciate it. But because this is gaining traction, I believe I should include it. My wife has had no interaction with either the F or the female partner. It turns out that F and her boyfriend had contacted me about their own marital problems. They were all guilty of having the twice. Wife and F have acknowledged to kissing and caressing one another. F believes they had more with just the two of them. Wife says F partner is very jealous and panic out when they are alone together. Edit 2. I don't have someone to confide in, so I suppose I'm reaching out to the internet. Edit 3. As many have requested, another edit is in need. Wife has done all I've requested of her in order for us to reconcile. She's informed family members, turned on GPS monitoring, posted on social media, and recently consented to a post-nuptial arrangement. Story 2. Heard after I find out my wife is cheating. So, I'm a male 30, married to a female 29. We'd been married for almost a year and a half and have been together for 5 years. Our lives were ideal. We were the most close, personal, and envied couple in town. We couldn't stop talking about each other. Of course, we had our ups and downs after marriage, but they were mostly normal/typical couple issues that we worked through and got over on the same day. The real issues began around 2 months ago, when she began to slip away. I kept wondering what was going on and why she was acting so strangely. She began talking about how I'm no longer engaged in her life, how we're no longer exciting her, and how she believes she has complete control over our lives. To be honest, I was surprised that she'd been carrying all that weight for so long and hadn't even warned me that she was drifting off. We discussed it many times over the first month of problems, and I kept telling her that she was overreacting and that everything could be sorted out, and that even if I wasn't completely sure, I promised I would change so that she could be the happiest and proudest person in the world. All she did was request some space. To be honest, I'm not very good at giving people space. It's simply not my style. When individuals I care about have issues with me, I'm not happy. Chat after conversation, and she returns home one day after spending a week with her parents, SAPs, and tells me that dismissing her complaints has shattered something within her, and she's not sure she can heal it. She does not feel safe and is insecure. I attempted to calm her down with lovely words and asked her if she could see a positive difference in me. She said that she wants me as well, which is why she returned home, and that she notices this shift, but it has no effect on how she feels. I swallow my pride and tell her that I want her and am prepared to go to any length for her, even if I'm not persuaded. I'll do anything for the purpose of regaining her trust. She began by requesting that we pretend as if everything is normal, and that she attempt to repair what is wrong. I consented even though I wasn't persuaded, but it was all for her sake. We didn't speak about that usual condition she requested, unless it was an inquiry and a quick response, and that was it. I saw she was chatting on the phone more than usual, texting more than usual, and being too possessive of her phone. I was ashamed, but I approached her and asked who she was talking to, since she wasn't talking to me at all, but to someone extremely elaborative. She informed me that this inquiry was pushing her to a higher level, since I was doubting her loyalty. I let it go, but I made it plain why I asked, and that it was motivated by annoyance. A week later, we fought again, with the same old arguments, but this time I made it clear that she had to choose between believing me and continuing or terminating this. I told her that she couldn't fix what was wrong until she completely trusted me and believed in us. She assures me that she will continue to behave normally, and that I should as well, until this is resolved and her affections return. I don't have anything else, so I agreed, but I informed her that as much as I desired her, she was messing with my emotions. After this final conversation, exactly 5 minutes have passed. She informs me that she will be taking the following week off and that she is considering traveling. I made it apparent to her that I did not approve of this, first because she just wanted me to live normally, and this was not her usual. Second, she was notifying me rather than debating it, and third, I have no idea who she is traveling with, where she is going, or why. After a brief argument, she exits the room. I felt the need to smooth things up, so I approached her and hugged her. As I approached her, she had her phone in her hand, and I was taking it up to place it on the table so I could properly embrace her. She grips her phone defensively and tells me she doesn't want anybody holding her phone. Is that typical? No, she has never been like that. She tells me again 2 days later that she is thinking about traveling. So I tell her that I still don't approve, and that now is not the time to leave me alone while you're still requesting that you behave normally. I tell her I don't know who she'll be traveling with or where she'll be going, and it's all very vague. She tells me again that this raises her trust difficulties to a new level. I'm not proud of the following piece, but she actually forced me to write it since something was unclear to me. That evening, I dropped her off and went to park the vehicle. When I go to the apartment, I see her phone charging on the table while she's on the toilet. I'm almost afraid to look at her phone. I make a choice, unlock her phone, and go through her WhatsApp messages. I discover a chat between her and a man, as well as all the nice messages saying, "I miss you, kisses, hugs." I double-check to make sure I understood correctly that it is indeed cheating. Before leaving the phone alone, I opened my phone's camera and took screenshots of the discussions. I enter the room and tell her that I need to ask her a very important question, which is motivated by my uncertainties and bewilderment about what has been going on over the last 2 months. I inquire whether there is anybody else. "No," she says. I invited her back in and asked her to swear on it, and she says no once again. I confronted her with the discussion screenshots. She is startled that I discovered it, and she is ashamed and stunned. I told her that after all this time, I've been by her side changing for her to be happy and doing all in my power to give her space and appear normal. That was all because she began conversing with someone else. I informed her that I had previously asked her to decide whether she wanted to be with me or not. She tells me that she wants me and she wants us, and that this new man is only a fling that she had for a week and terminated on the same day. She was lying again since the last text she received was 15 minutes ago. I tell her that's the end of it, since I won't trust her from now on. I'm depressed, really depressed.